broadcasting live from an undisclosed location in the universe. Welcome to Iggy Garcia Live, the show where metaphysics, holistic living, motivation, and inspiration come together to empower your mind, body, and soul. We will dive deep into the realms of metaphysical wisdom, exploring the fascinating connections between mind and matter. Get ready to ignite your inner spark and embrace a journey of self-discovery. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
What's up, guys? Iggy here. Episode 220. Damn. That's pretty impressive. That's a milestone for me. Since I've been doing my solo shows for With Insights Radio, I'm pretty excited about that. I've had tag teams in the past, and those have been great. It's always fun to do shows with other people, because you get to kind of banter off each other and share thoughts and ideas. But 220, that's wild. I had to really think about that for a second. I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot of work, that's a lot of commitment to doing the work that you do and following your passion you do. So today, of course, it's the spring equinox. So I got my turtle medicine on, my shield, giving thanks to Earth Mother, giving thanks to all the things that are about to hatch and all these things are about to be birthed. But like we do every show, we give thanks to those who came before us. And the reason we give thanks, and I know I probably say this 1,000 times every time I'm here, regardless if you had a relationship or no relationship with your family or no connection to your family, your mom or dad or whatever, maybe you had a grandma that raised you, who knows. We honor them because regardless if we wanted to be here or not, we're here. And those who choose to stay here and those who choose to do the work, we just give them thanks and acknowledgement, just even to give us life, to birth us. And this is why I acknowledge them, because a lot of us suffer, a lot of us have a lot of pain and anguish because we don't let go and we don't know how to forgive. We've not been taught to learn to forgive. And forgiveness is powerful medicine if we know how to do it right. I'm going to attempt to help you through the process in this show, but I'm going to use this candle to acknowledge this. My friend Jeremy gave me this to me for my birthday, so light it. And just take a moment to reflect and just think about all the beautiful things in the world, all the beautiful things in your life. And sometimes when we're thinking about the beautiful things, some of the dark things creep in. And why do they creep in? Because we're human beings, and sometimes we're triggered by the things that happen to us. Either they break us or make us, they mold us, or they don't, right? And that's kind of what it is. So I'm going to leave this candle in the lit. I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to say thank you to my mom and dad who are no longer with me. Thank you for doing the best you could to raise me and teach me in ways that probably you didn't know how to raise a child. I was your firstborn. And sometimes, when you raise a child, you do the best you can because, quite frankly, who really knows how to raise a child? When you have your first child, you're just kind of like figuring it out. Everybody's got ideas for you. Everybody's got all these amazing ways of doing things and approaching things. But, a lot of it's just trial and error. I mean, there's some logical things that you just do naturally because human beings are born with that. So, we're going to light a little sage. Set the tone a little bit. We're going to clear some energy. Because today is the first day of spring, technically. Today's the halfway point. The spring equinox is today. So, clearing and cleansing the white sage, ceremonial sage. For those of you who've never used ceremonial sage, it's very different than common sage. Some of you make your bundles with common sage, which is okay, it's no problem. ceremonial sages, things that I use in my work in order to clear the space, clear the energy that's stagnant. And then I come in, a little bit of cedar, burn a little cedar, and, just kind of the same way. It smells so good. So there's a lot of reflection today. And because I'm about to embark on a new journey with my friend Jeremy Felder and my friend Kristen Lane. Safe and sound, transformative arena. And I don't know why I have a hard time with that. It's just because I have to learn something new. How to transform, how to change, and how to adapt. Speaking Spanish, there's a lot of syllables for little Iggy. He's in there going, too many syllables for me, I cannot say. But anyhow, we're opening up a center. We're opening up a place where you can transform, can change, and be entertained, but also find that Zen place, that Zen moment. So around April 1st, we take possession of our space. And 24th through 25th, we'll be doing the grand opening. For those of you who want to join us on the Friday, we're going to be doing the drum circle. Then throughout the day, we'll be doing all kinds of events. And then in the evening, we'll finish off with Jeremy's beautiful, amazing, biofield experience through his singing bowls and through the lights and sounds and, just bringing all kinds of cool stuff. I think they can come on here. If they come alive, I can put them on and they can share some of their thoughts and feelings about what we're doing. And, I can get them on if they're not busy. But I think they're watching. But anyways, I invite them to the space if they want to. I can bring them on one by one or both. I think they both together probably. But today, I just want to remember that we're coming out of the dark space. We're coming out of the darkness. We're coming out of the cold. We're coming out of the place that, our bodies, our minds, our spirits have been challenged being in the winter. And I post a lot of different things on Facebook. And I post because they're more of my interest than anything. And sometimes I just kind of want to get a feel where people are at and what they're feeling, what's going on in their heart, what's happening. And I find that when I share, you get a mixed bag, a mixed review of stuff. And especially when you start going a little bit, a little more on the political side, you start getting a little bit of a mixed bag of feelings and emotions about how people feel about stuff. And I figured that's pretty normal. And it should be normal for that to happen. But I'm pretty stoked. Pretty stoked about, in the direction that I'm personally heading myself as a human being, as I'm getting ready to, experience some new ventures. Because for a long time I've been on a nomadic healer, where I just go. But I also learned that as a nomadic healer, I also need a home where I can work with those close and those people who need more attention. And this is why we decided to open a center, a space where we can share our gifts with you. And they're gifts from Spirit, they're gifts. And these special gifts are endowed to everybody. Everybody has special gifts. But certain people bring certain things to the table, and certain things come with that. But as I set up my little altar here, with my sage burning, and with the plant medicine, my bamboo, excuse me, it all represents, the different parts of the medicine wheel. I'm going to be doing medicine wheel classes. I'm going to be doing medicine wheel dancing classes. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff that's going to happen that I wasn't able to do for a long time just because of the lack of space, the lack of facility to do the work from. So I'm really excited for the opportunity to do that and to share that and be with that, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so, as we're moving along and we're progressing, putting the place together, right now they're putting carpet, painting it, getting it ready. I'm really excited. We just got back from the Gift of Light Expo last weekend, and we got to share part of our medicine. We got to share the things we do, the work we do, how we do it, when we do it. And we got to share, just kind of the insights. Excuse me, the candle got my throat there. And so here we are, just pulling it all together. And it's been a lifetime adventure, because it's not something that just happened overnight. It's something that just has been a slow progression. And, we've all kind of been in different places. We work from different spaces, but then you find a group of people where everything just seems to click and work in life. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with my friends that I'm working with. It's a good connection. And you know what? And plus, I'll be honest with you, they're go-getters too. And when they say they're going to do something, they do it. There's none of this like, well, maybe I should or shouldn't. It's like, no, we're gonna do this. We don't know how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do it. And so I like people like that. I like people who know where they're going, and they have a direction, they have a vision. Because I have a direction, I have a vision, and sometimes it's cool to attach your vision with other people's visions and create a new vision, and maybe see things that you didn't see before, and be able to expand on things that you weren't able to see before, because you are in your own personal, space, your own personal drive, your own personal tunnel, your own personal, connection. But in the end, we're all really all connected. We're all together in this. Every single one of us, regardless of where you come from, who you are, we're all in this together. We're all working together to raise the vibration. I don't know a lot of people who live in this world to bring down the vibe, but I'm going to guess there probably are, but I don't know too many of them, and so I'm pretty thankful for Jeremy and for Kristen for taking a chance on me too, because that's what I'm the old guy in the team, right? But old is relative, and so I'm excited to share with them some of my knowledge. I'm also excited to learn from them as well, because they have so much gifts and they're so talented in their knowledge as well. But the biggest thing is, it's we're going to collaborate, and we're going to see where it takes us. And I'm excited for that journey. So today is the first day of spring, like I said earlier. And today we recognize just the beautiful things that are in front of us. Our weather's been fantastic. We've had a couple blasts of cold air, but you know what? It feels good. It feels like we're going in the right direction. Even with all of the chaos in the world and all the things that are happening and all the things that are going on. Because regardless of what side you're on of it, it doesn't really matter. What matters is like how you navigate that, and how you either let it affect you, or you let it, consume you, or you observe it, hold space for it, put prayers towards it. Because the observer can change what happens in the world. And so right now, how do we change the world? Well, we change the world one person at a time, and then another person at a time. It's like, the little rock going into the ocean. It either becomes part of the ocean, which it is the ocean, but it causes these ripples. And these ripples just expand until they hit wherever they need to hit. And then those waves finish. And then again, another pebble falls in. So, in all honesty, we're a little cog in a big wheel. A little bearing in that, cylinder that spins around. Sometimes we need to get greased up a little bit, and sometimes we're rusting away. And sometimes we just need somebody to acknowledge us and use us. And so wherever you're at, whatever is happening, you'll figure it out. But right now, it's pretty amazing, in the direction that we're heading in humanity, because we're coming to a great awakening right now. And this great awakening is, knowing that the world is in chaos and the world's doing its thing. But it doesn't mean you have to be. It doesn't mean that you have to fall apart. And, sometimes we can scream all we want and nothing happens. And, it's not so much that we scream because we want to be heard. It's so much, we want to scream that we hear ourselves, that we know that we didn't fail, that we didn't say that we gave up, you know. And sometimes we just have to hear our own inner voice, you know, acknowledge that, you know, we're in this and we're going to do our best to make sure that others are heard too. Because so many people go without hearing. But then you have people who, you know, and this is going to be very controversial, but we have people who scream really loud, complain and yell, and then when the time comes to man up, buckle up, or woman up, or whatever you want to call it, they disappear. They're nowhere to be found. God, how many times have I been through that scenario? You know, you've probably been through that too. You know, one of my friends posted something similar today about that, and he was pretty much saying, you know, when the chips are down, some people aren't around. You know, they just fade into oblivion, and then when they come back and they yell again. You know, you got to be consistent when you do stuff. You got to be, you know, if you're going to say something, you got to believe what you believe in it until maybe you're corrected, or maybe you move others to your side. And the reason why people don't always move to people's side is because of your delivery. It's not so much that you don't get what you're saying is not factual and not true. It's how you deliver the message, how you're delivering it from a combative point of view, passive progressive point of view, aggressive point of view. We're human. We have feelings. We have emotions. You know, our chemicals are affected, you know, by how people project onto us. Because that's all we ever do. We're really projecting our feelings onto people. You know, so sometimes you feel something and it's really not yours, it's theirs, but it feels real because they want you to think it's real. It's yours. You're an asshole. Well, it takes an asshole to know an asshole. You know, that's what my dad used to tell me. Was he right? Was he true? I don't know. It takes a good person to know a good person, right? So there you go. I guess it's true. You have to be some kind of a rogue or some kind of a displaced or a feeling or emotion to understand what that is. And a lot of it's too that when you see something that's not familiar, you only have one side to acknowledge it from. So if you've never seen like evil or bad, you're gonna approach it from a whole different angle because you've never seen that. And so, you know, we see the injustice in the world. It's not injustice for everybody. I'll give you an example. Right now, United States is bombing Iran, and they're bombing the leadership. Now, I've posted some things here online where people or the Persian people go, you know, support us because, you know, we're in dire straits. We need support. And, you know, I see all sides of it. I see people like, oh, we just want to police the world, blah, 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 you know. I don't have a true answer for this, but I do know one thing. When these people are crying for help, we need to listen. And I know it's been a tough year last year because last several years, because we've had a lot of that. We watch the Israelis get shot up in a concert, then we watch the Israelis respond to Gaza and how they responded to that. And then we just see this perpetuating snowball of just, you know, hatred and mistrust and all this stuff. And then we watch, you know, the Iranian people suffering because their leadership believes that the way they rule is the way they rule, and that if you don't like it, you're dead. Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know. It's just what I can see. I can only come from the vantage point from where I know. And what I'm observing, what I'm watching, it's pretty ugly. It's pretty ugly. But, you know, for us to stay here and think that we know everything about it, I can't do that. But when they're calling, I have friends when they're out there saying, hey, listen, I don't know how you're going to help us, but, you know, we don't have any way to defend ourselves. We don't have any ways to protect ourselves. And we're at the mercy of the military, you know. My little bird's over here drinking out of the dog bowl. They're cute. But but this is nothing new. This has been going on for ages. We're just another generation expressing what we see and what we feel about it. You know, our parents' generation expressed and felt it in a certain way, and they protested a certain way. And, quite frankly, we're approaching it however we think we need to approach it. I can't sit here and say who's right or wrong, but some things just feel a certain way. Some things feel like, I'm not one to, obliterate, things and destroy things. But I'm watching this and I'm going, are these guys really evil? And, I have to really sit here and say, my perception of evil, my perception of wrongdoing, I'm looking at this and I'm going, wow, this is pretty dark. And, why would people make up stories if it wasn't true? They just kind of justify. I didn't watch it, but I, watched the news where they hung, this 19-year-old wrestler, because he protested against the government. I don't know the full details. He was accused of, cohorting with the U.S. and Israel. And so it cost him his life. But he's not the only one. Prior to that, there was 30,000, Iranians who were just killed in cold blood. And that's just 30,000. Because you're talking about probably millions of people over the course of 47 years, if not more. I don't have the figures and numbers to back that statement, but if these things are happening, I can't imagine what is happening. That's why I'm a big proponent for separation of church and state, and our country especially. I can't speak for other countries because they do whatever they do. But here in the United States, let's just keep politics and politics and religion. Because they already influence in a roundabout way, They don't have to be in the office and going, whispering in the ear. But there has to be a separation from that, because you stay in your playground, we'll stay in our playground. This is why we had the conquest, because we had the Catholic Church was a very powerful church. It became very powerful, and it dictated a lot of conquering of indigenous people around the world, not just here in the States. So, I don't know how to feel sometimes about all this stuff. I try to be open-minded about it. I try to, be a free thinker. I try to, just be present and listen to what I have to hear. But it can be daunting. And sometimes you have this little guilt feeling that when you run off and just kind of do your thing, and you're not really ignoring it, but you're just kind of like inundated with so much information that you don't even listen to anymore. So, anyways, I'm hoping that this year things turn out better for a lot of people, for yourself, for myself. And I believe here in the United States, the way we see the world is much different than the world sees itself sometimes. We have a lot of projection, and we have a lot of emotion, feeling how we see the world and how we embrace the world and what we think the world should look like or should be like. Our feelings of morality, I think, are much different than a lot of other countries. Does it make it right or wrong? No, it just is. It's just an observation. But, we have a lot of freedoms here, regardless if we think we don't or we do, we don't, but we do. We have a lot of freedoms here in this country to do a lot of things, say a lot of things within, just cause, just means too. We can't just say whatever we want. We have to speak in a way that's, proper. And then, I'm just watching the evolution. We're coming on our 250th birthday coming up here in the summer. And, we're a young country. We're a young, powerful country. There have been a lot of, empires that have lasted 300-500 years. Even when the conquest came, Mexico was, they had a certain, type of government that ran for close to 350 years before it started to change and become different and evolved out of itself. So there's a lot that happens. Historically, there's a lot of things that have gone on. And I'm not in agreement with all of them. And then some of them you're like, what do you do when you don't have the capability to defend yourself, the capability to, ward off or fight off things, invaders or invasions? You know, I always hear people when I talk about the indigenous people of this country, they always tell me, well, they fought each other too and they killed each other too. Sure. I mean, yeah, that's a big duh, you know. It's not like everybody got along. But there was an understanding. There was a common, you know, ground. But then, you know, there was indigenous people who fought against indigenous people, even when the settlers came, you know, who sided with them in order to get things that they wanted. And, you know, it just like you find out in your history. Even indigenous people owned slaves. You know, Native Americans and some owned slaves. And so, you know, there's all this mixed bag of feelings and emotions. And I don't want to deter away from what my topic was, but it's kind of where it takes us into this realm of, you know, why we're here now. Why we're here. And we're here now. And now that we're here, what do we do? You know, there's a lot happening right now. There's a lot of diversity commingling and integrating with one another. And this diversity is trying to find a home within its parameters of this country called the United States of America. I never call America, the United States of America. I just call it the U.S. or the United States of America, because I want to make sure there's a distinction that there are other Americas in this world. You know, South America, North America, of course, Central America, you know, and they all have their own cultures and their own, you know, borders, ideologies, and they're all bound by a certain type of language, but it doesn't make them all the same. They're all independent, they're all individual in their own belief systems, their own cultures, their own celebrations, their own constitutions. And that's something that here in the United States we have to be able to learn to distinguish that. We know it, but we kind of lump it, you know. During the expo, I talked a little bit about, and I've talked about this before, but I just feel like I have to say it again. I talked about being part of the salad bowl. And, you know, in the salad bowl is America. America's the big bowl. And there's the lettuce. And lettuce is your common, you know, your everyday American who just goes about their business. They all look the same. They all work the same. They do the same, black, white. Doesn't matter what color you are. Just all integrated in a certain way. Then you have all this other stuff like cucumbers, parsley, cilantro, whatever you add. And all of them are part of the salad bowl. They're all part of America, United States of America. But in that, when we get tossed around and when we had dressing, you know, we're all interlaced with those ingredients. But yet we still hold our identity within the ingredients and the mixtures and the combinations. And some get heavy, more filled heavy one way or filled heavy the other way. But nonetheless, it's not like you become a tomato, but you're an American tomato, right? You're a cucumber, but you're an American cucumber. Yeah. You're a citizen of that belief system. Or a resident, either way, however you want to look at yourself. But we're all part of salad bowl. Instead of becoming a mixing bowl of the melting pot we used to use, because I remember the melting pot. I remember when they used to talk about that in school. I mean, they really like forced that, and they really pushed that when I was a kid. America's the melting pot of the world. Well, when you think about it, if that was a true fact, then every person who came here and everybody who integrated here or who has been here, we'd all have a common bond in the sense of, you know, cultural, diverse interchange, and we don't have that. We celebrate, most of us celebrate 4th of July. Some of us don't celebrate 4th of July. There's no holiday that really wraps us and binds us together. But we all have our little segments of the world here, you know. You can go to New York and you can just see Chinatown. You can just see where all the Latinos live. You can see where all the Polish live, where all the Italians live. Everybody has their own little space. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, I've never truly seen what a citizen of the United States, an American person looks like, what that is. And I've been here for a long time. I had never seen what America is. It's not white people, it's not black people, it's not Hispanics, Latinos, or whatever you want to call us. But I've never seen something that I can say, that's an American. No, because even everybody who is still attached to their culture, still attached to their beliefs or their religion. But our culture is very diverse and unique. So we're a big country. So we have all these belief systems, and we have to like merge them, but they don't merge. You know, they don't merge. Because even Peruvians don't get along very well with each other. And you know, and I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, but we don't have something that we can say it's ours. If I'm wrong, you can tell me, but you know, we separate ourselves by giving everybody a holiday. You know, holiday for Latinos, holiday for Black Americans, you know, holidays for Italians, we give holiday, and every month we give somebody a holiday. But yet there's no holiday for white people, right? There's no holiday for, you know, certain types of people, certain groups of people. And then, you know, like Morgan Freeman said, why do you want to, you know, encapsulate my culture in 1 month? What he was really saying is, aren't we just all Americans? Aren't we just all, even though we have our heritage and our background, why do you want to box me and celebrate me for 1 month when you should be celebrating me my whole life, every single day? It's like Mother's Day. Every day is Mother's Day. Every day is Father's Day, but we celebrate it, right? For some reason, because Hallmark says we have to celebrate it, you know? And people get really entangled in those things. But Heritage Month for Latinos and Hispanics are heavily loaded one way, you know, unless you're in your own boroughs or in your own little parts of the world. But a lot of it is just, you know, whoever's the most dominant group in that area, and they dominate. I've seen it. I know. This is why I can speak from experience. But I'm not saying to discount it and discord it, you know, but I'm just saying it's an observation that, you know, why do we do that? I never quite understood that. You know, it's like every day should be the day that we acknowledge Hispanics, Blacks, Latinos, whites, Polish, Italians, you know, Irish, wherever you come from. It shouldn't have to just be, oh, this is our month. Oh, you know, just, I don't know, just for me, just it's kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but I just feel like it kind of cheapens the process a little bit about who we are. You know, it's like I'm supposed to like get excited about that. Don't you? I mean, sometimes you look at somebody, you don't even know where they're from, or who they are, or what their background is, or what their heritage is. You know, because a lot of us are mixed races. You know, we're mixed people. I'm mixed, indigenous with a lot of different pieces and parts from around the world, not just Europe. You know. But the day we start seeing human beings as as humans, as that we're one, you know, system, that we're one group of people, that we all belong, you know, I don't think artificial intelligence separates itself. We're the artificial intelligence of the North, or we're the artificial intelligence of Europe, you know. No, that thing just knows it just has to adapt all together and become its own salad bowl and then integrate us. Because right now I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen my friends posting about the water, you know, how these data centers that they're creating with AI, their servers that they use get so high and create so much heat that they have to cool them down with the water. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm sure they probably heat their buildings in the wintertime, you know, with that heat and disperse it somehow. But there has to be creativity and ingenuity in how you can take something and revamp it. Instead of just using up the water and dumping it in the river or whatever, are you recycling this water? Are you creating this water, repiping it back into your system? How many times can you do it without it being contaminated? Is there contamination? You know, when we poison the water, we're done. And the next evolution will happen. Listen, I hate to break the news to you, we're not going to be here forever. And those who survive are probably going to suffer really harsh conditions when it gets to that point. So count your blessings that you live in a time right now that you have fresh air, you have clean water, that you are able to drive your car down the street, that you're able to do a lot of things, because there's going to be a time in our existence as humanity where those things are going to disappear if we keep going the way we're going. It's not a threat. It's not to scare people. But watching humanity and how they act and how they behave in the things in the total discount of humanity and how they look at other human beings as just cattle and numbers is very heartbreaking. There are people out there who are very wealthy who don't really care about us, and they never will care about us because their whole agenda is how much can they make and how much can they keep, how much can they pass on to the next generation, you know? The indigenous people here used to say, no one owns the land, no one owns the water, nobody owns anything. But you know what? That might have been their downfall, kind of like our downfall. What's going to be our downfall, you know? Because every society and every empire has a downfall. Because it gets to the point where it thinks it's invincible and it's unstoppable. And the smallest little crack destroys it all. And you know how that is. You get a hole in your bucket, dear Liza. You either fix it or you try to hold as much water as you can and run to wherever you're using it or put your hand on it. But my point is, everything comes to a place where it just breaks down. And this world will break down. You know, I watched a video where they're talking about how many species of existence of animals and life forms are here on this planet that no longer exist. And not so much because of us, that came later, but just because Mother Earth does her cycles and does the things that she does, her volcanoes, her earthquakes, don't think that won't happen again. You know, we're really in tune to her patterns and the things she does. But she's unpredictable, you know? She will do what she needs to do to survive. She's alive. And then there comes a point where, you know what? It's like anything. You become a virus long enough, she'll shake and you're gone. And if you don't believe me, just do your research and you'll find out. I mean, this planet has taken millions and millions of years just to create us. There will never be another existence that even looks remotely like us. When she decides to reconstitute herself and make a new existence, the only thing that will be constant is the energy, because energy can't be destroyed. So we'll be reused again. We'll be remanufactured into something else. Were we dinosaurs before? That's not what I'm saying. But our energy will be used by the earth to help push volcanoes, to help push energy, to help move clouds. I don't know how it all works, but I know that we just don't disappear. Our physical body, it goes away. It becomes part of the soil, it becomes part of the land. But the energy that's inside of us, that powers us, that moves this body, that doesn't get destroyed. That just mutates and changes and goes into its own phase. It phases into something different. And so that's where we're going. That's where we're heading. But it could be scary to think about. But you know what's interesting? We don't have to worry about that right this second. Because right now, you know, the average lifespan for human beings is anywhere from 75 to 80 years of age, which is not a lot, guys, when you start to break that down. Even though our ancestors probably only lived, 30, 40 years, maybe at most, some of them. I'm talking about the ones here on this continent, because they were struggling. But there's, biblically, you know, historically, we talk about people living hundreds of years, 200, 300, 400 years. How did they determine that? It could be calendars, different type of calendars, moon cycles. It doesn't matter. I don't know. But the idea is that, you know, one day we won't be here. So it's important to connect with the people that you care about, the people you love, the people who are in your life. When I was talking to you earlier about forgiveness, it's really about forgiving yourself, about the pieces and parts of yourself that are angry and upset with the behavior of somebody else's stuff. Listen, people will only change if they're willing to change. But if you want to forgive somebody, forgive yourself and forgive others, that's a choice. You have the choice. Oh, but Iggy, you don't know how mad and upset I am. Sure, I know how mad and upset you are, because I get mad and upset too. You You can contribute to why you're not feeling well and why you feel sick and why you have certain things happen to you, because your body responds to those triggers, your body responds to that feelings and emotions. So ask yourself, are you happy with that? Is that okay with you? To feel these physical miasms in your body, these ancestral angst that you have, that you carry. You carry a lot of people with you. There's a lot of feelings and emotion. A lot of the thoughts you have in your head, they're not all yours. Sometimes you don't even know where they come from. Your dreams you have, half of it's half truth, because half of it's true and half of it's not. Last night I had a dream about being with my family. This is my family, my brothers and sisters. And we were at the house, and you know what? They had bought stacks of McDonald's, like French fries and Big Macs. And I'm going, I can't eat this. You know, they know I can't eat this. Well, why would they buy this? They know that. And I'm thinking to myself, because they only think about themselves, right? And that's also part of me also thinking about myself too. And I tried to eat it and I couldn't. Like, I was like, I can't do this. I won't do this again. As crazy as that sounds, that was my dream last night. And I'm thinking, well, you know, we always have to create discernment. We also have to create, you know, make decisions for our own personal health, our own personal lives, what's good for us. You know, so many times we martyr ourselves in order to save another person, or to not hurt somebody's feelings, or just to be, you know, there's a way to address things. You don't have to be an ass about it. You can talk to people about how you feel, and not have to be, you know, belligerent or radically upset about things. But so many of us, we're ultimatum people right now. We're like the ultimatum people. If you don't like me, then you know, we all know people like that. And then we have other people just like, hey man, I love you how you are. You know, I may not agree with you, but I love you. I honestly respect you for that. It doesn't mean we're going to get along with everything. Listen, all my friends that I'm close to, we agree to disagree on stuff. And then, you know, sometimes we don't talk about certain things because we know that we're not in alignment with that. But there's enough things that we're in alignment with that keep us going, keep us motivated. And that's important. That's what you got to find. Listen, yeah, you can find friends every day, but there's only specific people that come into your life who alter and change the fabric of your feeling, your emotions, and your soul. And you'll know when they're gone. You'll know when they've left you. You know when they moved on, or if you pushed them away, because it has a different kind of feeling. It has a different type of connection. So when you're angry at somebody because they're not in alignment with you, really think about what's in discord with you. What is it that you can't get over? What is it that you can't move from? For a lot of you guys that I know, you're really upset because there's a guy in office that you don't like. Their name is Donald Trump. And then I see people post things, and I saw this post and I thought it was really interesting. Somebody posted, they go, you know, support our troops, you know, blah, 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 you know, we support the troops, and, you know, we're with them, we stand by you. And then somebody posted, well, I support troops, but I don't support the orange man, blah, 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 you know. And somebody took offense to that. Someone goes, listen, I appreciate that, but I don't appreciate you saying the orange man. We didn't call Obama the black man. We didn't call Biden the white man, you know. And I sat there and I go, they have a point there. You know, and it really says a lot about who we are. When we truly, and you can dislike whoever you like. I'm not here to tell you can't like anybody. But I'm thinking to myself and going, what is it that I really dislike? Is it his behavior? Is it that he just reminds me of somebody, or just somebody that I just recognize, or somebody that just kind of creeps me out? And that's okay. I mean, that's fine. But it's like, when I talk to my friends from Peru and stuff, and they're like, why do you guys hate Trump so much? He's your president, you know, he's doing some good stuff, and don't you guys see it? I said, some people see it, some people don't. And some people don't choose to see it because they're just so angry because of who he is as a man, not so much as him and the politician. Him and the politician, I think, are completely different than him and the man for a lot of people. And I understand that. But we've had some leaders who've done some crazy stuff too. And it just seems to be a little more aggressive with Trump. And I'm not here to tell you have to like Trump. That's not why I'm saying this. I'm just saying you have to make your own decisions about that. But it's interesting, because I posted a lot of things yesterday about, just my circle of friends and how really small it really is. I was really, reflecting after the expo and I was just thinking how certain people stand out in your life. And then some people just want to be part of your life because it benefits them, or they just want to be in the know with you, And I met a lot of that during, the expo, and I was really, it kind of threw me a little bit. I was just like, well, that was kind of weird, But I knew in the expo, I was just going to be myself, I was just going to be who I am. I just try to be funny and normal. I don't try to pretend to be something different. When I'm mad, I'm mad, and I let you know it. When I'm happy, I'm happy, A lot of people who do know me know that this is how I am. I'm like this. I have my moments, like anybody. I like my downtime. I like my quiet. I like to be in my space and not be bothered. I'm just like everybody. I'm just high energy when I want to be high energy, and then when I'm serious about doing what I need to do, I do it. And many of you have known me for many years, and for you, it's not weird to see me, talk about some of the things I talk about. And for some people, it's really odd, because for some people, it's like I'm neutral, it's like I may be neutral on some things, but I'm vocal on other things. But sometimes I just have to let things play out, Sometimes you just gotta let things play out. And, you'll be surprised when you let things play out. And then some things won't change, just some things just don't change. And, and when they don't change, they don't change. There's not much you can do about it, right? But you could be the observer, and the observer does help change things. This world is riddled with all kinds of feelings and emotions. And right now, the world is just bouncing around with everybody's ideas and beliefs and answers and confusion. And I'm watching it all, just like you are. But I do want to say one thing, that I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that I'm able to have this conversation with you and to be here on this podcast and share my feelings and my emotions about how I feel about certain things. Not everything. Some things, nothing to really share. But I'm glad that I'm able to be in a country where I can speak my mind and either be challenged or not challenged. It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. If it happens, it happens. But I have a platform to express myself and to help others express themselves, to be open to what they want to share. Because so many people don't share because they just don't feel like they can. And I've had a lot of people saying, you know what, I can express myself because you were brave enough to share your story or share your feelings that allow me to share my feelings and my stories. And when I hear that, it's like, wow, that's powerful medicine right there. That's really good. You don't always get that, but when you do get that, when you get a message like that, that just kind of hits you right here, It just kind of like takes it a whole different level. I was really surprised when I read a lot of the posts, and the things that people posted. I was just like, wow. And you post things not because you're trying to get attention or likes or anything. You're just expressing yourself. But then you realize that people are listening, people are paying attention, that people are connected, that people want to know what you have to say and what you have to share and what's on your mind. Because if Iggy is able to say it, I'm able to say it. And sometimes, you guys post things that empowers me to speak my mind, speak my voice, when I'm thinking that, you know what, I've gotten to the point where, like, as long as it's not hurting anybody, I'm going to say what I feel. You know, first do no harm. I'm always going to come approach it from that point. But I'm never going to let somebody tell me that I'm wrong because I feel a certain way. Listen, I have to figure out that I'm wrong, if I'm wrong. And yet, I'm going to be wrong because of somebody else's standards. Not because it's the wrong thing. It's going to be wrong because people make it wrong, or they see it wrong, perceive it wrong. It's just as much as when people say it's good and it's right. It may not be good for me. It may not be good for you. It may be great for you. But that's where that's where we have to distinguish in that moment what's the best thing for us in order to learn and to be part of this world. And to understand that not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody's going to be in alignment with you. And that's okay. And then when they are in alignment with you, then what? They're just in alignment with you. It's not like some magic thing happens sometimes. It's just, I agree with you. Yeah, and then that's it. At least you know in that moment, in that space, in that present time, we agree. It doesn't mean we're always going to agree. But in that moment, yeah, we're in alignment, we're in agreement. That certain things have to be a certain way, or certain things have shifted a certain style or a different way. I'm talking a lot lately about just the state of the world and the state of our feelings and emotions, because it's just kind of like where Spirit has led me. And, I have a lot to share about a lot of different things, but there's just like I have this repeat in my head that I have to share certain things to remind people that it's not really as bad as we think it is. It may be bad for a certain group of people in a certain time, in a certain place, but you know what? It's really only as bad as you make it. If you believe that it's bad, it's going to be bad. If you believe there's goodness in the world, there's goodness in the world, because there is goodness in the world. You have to find it. You got to look for it, because there's another group of people that are showing you all the things that they perceive as bad. And so you got to decide what's good for you. Like I heard Alan Watts one time. He told a story about a guy who owned a horse. And, I was like, oh, he's such a beautiful horse. He goes, yeah, maybe, And then the horse escaped. And they're like, oh, man. The villagers like, oh, it's too bad your horse escaped. And he's like, maybe. And, everybody's kind of scratching their head going, well, you'd think you'd be more upset. And then a few days later, the horse comes back with like 5 different horses. Oh, everybody's like, oh my God, you're blessed. You're so blessed. You got 5 horses now. Your one horse brought 5 more, 4 more horses, 5 more horses. And, oh, you're so amazing. And he's like, maybe. And I'm listening to this. I'm going, most people would say, yeah, I'm blessed, blah, 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 And so then he's got all these horses. And then his son is helping his dad try to tame some of these horses because they're a little bit rambunctious and wild and they're young. And so finally he gets on one horse, and the horse bucks him, throws him off, and he breaks his leg. And all the villagers, they're all coming out, oh, I'm so sorry about your son. He broke his leg, all the horses, those damn horses. And he says, oh, your son, he's like, that's too bad. And he goes, maybe. And then, war breaks out in the region. And the draftsmen come looking for young men to, make them into soldiers to come fight the war. He comes to the man's house with the 5 horses and his son with the broken leg. And, he talks to the guy, he shows him his son, and he's like, he can't fight. He can't go fight. He has a broken leg. And, and everybody in the village comes by like, oh, you're so lucky. Your son didn't have to go to war. Oh, my God, this is amazing. And the dad goes, maybe. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of power. There's a lot there. And I got this huge smile on my face because I see it on the camera. And I'm going, maybe, because I say that a lot, and I had never really heard that until recent. And some of you who know me know that I say that, maybe. And I remember my dad used to say maybe too, but for other reasons. But can I go? Maybe. But it's where we put our energies. Everybody else saw his fortune as good. But for him, he saw his fortune maybe not so good. Now I got 5 horses to feed. And now I got a son who's bedridden. He can't help me. And I got to take care of him, and I got all these horses. So the story unfolds however you want to twist it, however you want to manifest and create it. And that's what I'm talking about. That story is because if we approach life in a way where we're just like, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. We don't really truly know. Oh, thanks, Pam. Appreciate that. But we have so much that happens in our lives, and one man's gift is another person's detriment, right? Just because somebody has a lot of money doesn't mean they're happy. I've seen some very wealthy people very unhappy. And I've seen some very people who are less fortunate who are extremely happy. They don't have a lot of stuff, but you know what? Sometimes that's the less burden to carry. You don't have to worry about so much. And then I see a lot of wealthy people who have no kids, and then I see people who have not as wealthy and they have lots of kids. So your abundance and your gifts are all relative to how you perceive it, how you receive it. And so maybe, just maybe, if we just step back and look what we have in front of us, maybe it's a gift, maybe it's not, but regardless, we have it. And what we do with those gifts is really truly up to us, because every breath you take is a gift, right? Maybe. I just had to do that. But I am grateful, though. And then you guys have heard me say this. I'm grateful. When I wake up in the morning, I say, thank you, Lord. I do say that because that means that I'm here and I have the opportunity to do some amazing things today. What that is, I have no clue sometimes, but I just know that I get an opportunity to share my feelings and emotions. So as we wrap up the show, I wanted to talk a little bit where I'm going to be this weekend. So I'm going to be in Hillsboro, Ohio, those of you who live near Hillsboro, on the Friday of next week. I think that's the 27th. I'll be there next Friday at 6 p.m. holding a drum circle and a healing circle at the end. So if you need some drumming, you need some vibration, you need to raise that vibration up, join me in Hillsboro at Naturally by Nature. Just look up Naturally by Nature online on Facebook, and you can find the address, or you can go to my website at iggygarcia.com and just click on the events button. And it has all the list of drummings that I'll be doing. I'm going to be adding some new ones because now we have the new center. And then April 4th, I'll be at the Reiki Center at 7 p.m. doing a drum circle healing session there as well, for those of you who are here in Grandview and Columbus. Then on the 24th, I believe it's towards the end of the month, we'll be at our new space at Safe and Sound, 80 Grace. That's in Powell, Ohio. I'll have an events page for that, sharing that. And I'll share kind of the grand opening for that as well. So there's a bunch of stuff coming up. And then April 26th, I believe, is Ash Cave. If you've not been to Ash Cave, you got to go. I just talked to the organizers of Ash Cave, well, the Parks and Rec. We had a meeting today about it, just going over some of the things that, they like to know what's happening, what's going on. They're going to have a little talk before, but that's like 300 people to come to this event throughout the day. And, it's our spring gathering. It's like our time to share. It's our family reunion. The Condor Eagle Society, which I am part of that, we host that with the Metro Parks there. And that's just to bring back the energy of the ancestors and bring back the energy of community and bringing people to the park, bringing people to Logan, Ohio, to camp, to rent hotels, to fill the restaurants. So it's a great time, guys. If you're not seeing it, I think this is our 13th year, maybe. I have to double check because we had a COVID break there. But anyhow, I hope you guys can join us on that because it's a lot of fun. So with that, I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in today and being with me. and allowing me to share my thoughts. I was a little scatterbrained today, but you know what? Sometimes just it goes that way, maybe. But anyhow, just remember, you're the magic. You create the world that you're in. The world that we want to manifest is inside of our spirit and our soul. Sometimes we have a hard time creating ourselves, but other people we can attach our star to other people's stars, and then we make a bigger star, and then we can create more beautiful things. And the people who have hurt you and wronged you, just know that we don't know their story. And sometimes people who are the meanest and the angriest are the most broken, are the people who have the most trauma, and they just don't know how to heal it and deal with it. But you do. I do. We've learned. So be the conduit of positivity, love, and healing. Be the conduit of change. Be open. Allow spirit to roll through you and manifest creation through you. And with that, I just want to say thank you guys. It's good to be here. Ho'oponopono matakuyasin irisikwi, which means gratitude in Quechua. I'll see you guys next time. Go to iggygarcia.com. Go to YouTube. Join my YouTube channel. Just hit the subscribe button. And the little bell will send a little message when I have a new thing updated. If you want to get a hold of me, you know how to get a hold of me. Just go to my website, iggygarcia.com. Drop me a line or just DM me in Facebook or here in, Messenger. And we'll connect. But with that, I want to say thanks, guys. Be well. Take care. God bless. Ho'oponopono, like I said. Just all the goodness. What is above is below. Just honor and respect each other. Care for each other. Just know that there's someone out there just like you, looking for you and to connect with you and willing to learn from you as much as you're learning from them. Be well, my friends. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. And I will see you next time. And don't forget, the grand opening is on the 24th for Safe and Sound Wellness Center. And I will get you more information about that. You guys will. There's a lot of beautiful things coming up the pike. Be well. Take care.